What up, everybody? How's it, Devalt? How you doing? How's it, Walter? Alvezo, the Nolan. How's it, guys? Gonna get started shortly. If you have questions about the African server or comments, please start dropping them below. We can start chatting about it. If you have questions about the African server or comments. Right, looks like the audio is good. Kill the music. Let's get to the comments along. So basically, just for those of you that don't know, tuning in or watching this after the fact, this is just a little comment, a chat and comment about the African servers. I know with the update that happened last week, there was a lot of comment and speculation, most of it wrong, about the African servers and what is happening. So I've got some key information. I spoke to the guys. I worked with the guys. So I've got some information for you, and then let's clarify some other things. And if there's questions that I cannot answer, some of the stuff, some of the information, obviously they won't share. There's some questions I asked that they just don't, the data is just not available for us, or they don't talk about that type of thing. And I mean, obviously a lot of the things like Walter saying the 15-second thing, yes, that's kind of an unofficial thing. I mean, they won't ever talk about that type of stuff. But we'll chat about the African server, what it is, and if it actually is. Yeah, a lot of people have been saying that there is no African server. And why is there no African drop-down? That's probably the biggest question that people are asking. So I'll address all of these things. Let's go through some of the comments and kick this party off. How's it, Devalt? Yeah, weekend was alright, eh? Lynn says, how's it, everybody? Johanna's saying, how's it? Hi. Walter's asking, what's this all about? Please, not a great player, just a noob. Can me and a friend just join the Brawls? Oh, yeah. This is not the Brawl session. We'll play some Brawls later. I just wanted to chat about the African servers and kind of set some information straight so everybody knows what the base facts are, because everything else is speculation. Devil just confirming what the stream is about. Carl Milan saying, we want African server in FPP. All right, we'll chat about that type of thing shortly. But can't you just switch in to FPP in game? Or you want everybody to play in FPP? Alvezo saying, definitely. Donolan saying, how's it, peeps? I hope all had a great weekend. The Nolan's asking, are we going to get a permanent one for ourselves? So I'll chat about that in a second. Walter's saying that 15-second thing works. Yes, we spoke about it earlier. Okay, so Devil's asking a pertinent question, which we'll get to. I think we'll kick off with that. Walter's saying, Gooi millies. How's it, Paul? Welcome. All right, let's get started. I mean, there's not a ton of information, so I didn't want to make too much of a hoo-ha about it, but I think this is a great way to get some more questions if we have more questions that I can potentially pose to them if I haven't already asked them, and just to set the record straight with what the current status is of a PUBG Mobile African server. So Devil's asking, we'll kick off with that. I know the African server is permanently available through EU selection. Would there be an African option soon? So let's just backtrack for 2 seconds. So when the African PUBG mobile team launched last year, our main mandate was to get more players to play daily on the African or on the server that was provisioned. Now, the server that was provisioned, it's now an Azure server, all right? So it is situated in South Africa. There is a server running all the time. Our mandate was to get more players involved in the game on a daily basis in the African sub-Saharan region, obviously, within confine, because obviously the further you go from the African server, right, the further it is, or the higher the likelihood of your ping is going to be. So the first need was to address, this market and then go up into the sub-Saharan Africa region at least. The reason why we needed to up the player numbers, because there wasn't enough players on a daily basis to make it a good experience for players when they join a game. Now, I'm just going to explain. I'm just going to kind of run through how this works, and most of you know this, I'm sure. But for those of you that don't know, this is kind of just a brief overview of how things work within PUBG. You open the game, you get into a lobby. I mean, I can probably show you, but most of you have seen this. You get into a lobby, you press start, and then what it does is it goes out and finds all the other players in your region that wants to join up a game at the same time as you. Obviously, if you set up a room, that's slightly different, but it works in the same principle, and you'll see what I mean by that now. So once you press start now, it's going to go out and find everybody else that wants to play at the same time, the same game type that you want with the same map selection potentially. If you select random, obviously it's going to be clever about it and find everybody who's just open to play any game on any map. If you're more specific with a map, it'll take longer because it's going to either cycle through it or it's going to wait for other people within the same exact selection as you. Now, if we just switched on that African server and we made it a dedicated, yeah guys, here's a dropdown, African dropdown, have fun. What would have happened then was, because we didn't, so at last year, we didn't have, we were growing the numbers, obviously, and we were doing a damn good job of it, if I have to say so myself. So I would say when we stepped away at the end of the year, when they kind of withdrew from South Africa for obvious reasons within the global climate and everything that happened with COVID, at that time we had a good number of players, but it still wasn't enough to warrant that drop down. And this is why. If we have an African drop down, and if we said, okay, let's just put that drop down there, have fun, guys. What would have happened is there wasn't enough players in all the regions to cater to a good gaming experience. And what I mean by that is long waiting times. I mean, you guys have seen what happens in Call of Duty, right? The long waiting times in the PC version of that game. It's because there's either not enough players in the region or in the area that you are playing to join up for a game to give you that low ping that we all want. So if we had a drop-down, African server drop-down, you would have waited probably a minute or two, maybe 3 or 4 minutes sometimes, because there isn't enough players. I mean, you think there's a lot of players playing in African region, and there are. But the numbers we are talking about here to make the experience throughout the day, every day of the week, a good one for every player, that is the key. And that is why the African server drop-down hasn't appeared yet. All right. Not saying that we don't have more players now, it's just that they are not focusing on this area at the moment. I mean, it's a business decision. You cannot blame a company for they pulled out of 2 emerging markets. It was Africa and South America, I believe. So let's have a look at some of the questions quickly. Ruan is just giving an in-game comment. How about 8 team squad options so that you can play with more friends? Okay, there's a lot of things we would love to have, right? But again, I think it's a balance between a good gameplay experience. I don't think there's any game or any PUBG version of a game that gives you 8 team squads. I don't even think PC does that. So Ruan talking about the 10-15 second rule. So you guys know the experience you have with the 10 to 15 second rule, right? And all that means is you start the game, and if you don't get into a game lobby within 10 to 15 seconds, cancel that and start again. Yes, that works, but it kind of messes with the server if you guys do that. So I mean, obviously, nobody's going to stop doing it, but it's not the ideal way of going about it. But yes, it works. When unofficially it works, I've tried it. But at the end of the day, you still spend a lot of time trying to find a server, right? So you do that 2 or 3 times, that's 30, 40 seconds. And also by the time you cancel, it may have found something. Okay, yes, it will reconnect you again. But if everybody does it, if we have a lot of players and people do that, it does mess with the server a bit. Naeem says, what is enough for a drop down? Now, obviously, they don't share numbers. I mean, I've got some numbers, but They don't talk about it. We can't talk about it. I was under an NDA. I'm not going to share that. But let me tell you, it's good numbers, but there needs to be a lot more. I mean, we're talking about, let me put it like this, under 100,000, bad, over 100,000, good. And that's kind of, but obviously more than that is needed, right? I don't know what the current numbers are because I don't share it, but judging from the community that I see, it's certainly growing. Walter saying, but yeah, Livik, Erangel, and lobby loads before 15 seconds. Yeah, there's a lot of players playing Livik at the moment. Logic Gaming asks, low ping for us on the EU server? Well, like I explained, so yes, we have low ping on the EU server. It's because you're routed to the African server when there's enough players at the same time playing the game style as you. So Ashton asks, what's the ideal way of getting into a game? Well, to be honest with you, what we are doing now is the best way. It's the only way. Press start and go. I don't do the 15 seconds rule generally, to be honest with you. I'm not a competitive player in the nature that the ping bothers me as much. Obviously, most of our brawls are all on the low ping because we only have South African players. There might be one or two African players, but because they are close enough, they would be routed to the same server in any case. So if you're looking at our neighboring countries, those guys, if they play with us in the South African rooms, of course they are going to get switched. They might get like a 60, 70, 80, 90 millisecond ping, but it'll still be in the green bar. No, Paul, we don't. There's no numbers, unfortunately, because they're not officially present here. So the Azure service, maybe I should also mention that just before I forget. The Azure server that was set up, they didn't have to keep this thing running, right? Shout out to Trey, who made it happen, and he made sure that he was the brainchild behind this whole thing, and he was my boss, and he really didn't want to just see all our work drop, I would say, or I would put it like that. And he managed to get them to keep the server running. And there's no end date to that. So I can also confirm that. There's no end date to the current server setup that we have here. But there's also no confirmation on if they're coming back, when they're coming back, and if we will see potentially other games, other game styles, or other game modes also included on the server. That will most likely be dictated by head office as they see things. I would imagine that things are kind of running on autopilot now from their side on the server. So what I mean by that is if we manage to play a lot and hit those numbers that they want us, or that they want for the daily numbers, player number count, then I don't see why we couldn't wake up one morning with an African Dropdown, right? I mean, if we have enough players in the region, the infrastructure is here. That might even be a cue for them to say, all right, let's come back in an official capacity. Is my camera sharp? Why does it look so out of focus? And that is partly my selfish reason why I continued with the Battle Room Brawl. So this was my brainchild when I was with the PUBG team, and I took it over and made it my own, and just took it under my own wing afterwards, because I love the community, I love the gameplay, and I think the work that we've put in and the kind of the traction we've made is not lost. It's growing. I mean, if I look at the amount of players, the amount of groups, how each of the streamers' view accounts are growing, I mean, it's huge. So I'm doing my little part. I mean, they're not paying me for this. This is 100% my own venture. They supplied prize money for the first 3 months, which is why we had the 10 grand prize money. Thank you to them. Shout out to Tencent and PUBG Mobile Africa. But now I'm out of my own feet, on 2 feet into the big world, and I've got some things lined up. But, this is everybody that's doing it for a passion. That's for sure. Ashton's asking, so if I'm in Zimbabwe, I can partake in brawls. Well, Ashton, the brawls I don't limit the brawls to South Africa because of ping reasons. It's purely because of prize delivery. So any normal brawl you can partake. If it's a fun brawl or whatever, I mean, I wouldn't ask people I wouldn't ask only South African players to participate. It's when I have to deliver the prize or send money that it becomes tricky. If you have a South African cell phone number, I can send you the chicken dinner prize money. But if I need to send you a cap or a hoodie or something, can you guys see that? Oh yeah, that's so beautiful. If I need to give you a cap, or if I need to send you a cap or a hoodie, then it's infinitely more expensive. It doesn't, because I'm paying for it out of my own pocket. You know, it's not. This isn't sponsored, so it just costs too much. So Walter says he found the game tends to be glitchy in lobbies that take 30 plus seconds to load. Well, that would obviously mean that you're getting into an EU server, so you'll have a yellow bar with probably 180 milliseconds. That shouldn't really account for glitches, but you'd have, what's the word I'm looking for? You would have, maybe stutters in game, and you might have ping issues. Yeah, Devil saying thanks, Trey. Yeah, that is, well, it's just abbreviation of his name. I don't know. I wouldn't give all these details out, but yeah, that is Trey. Ashton says we hit those numbers on an hourly basis. I'm sure of it. Well, Ashton, remember, it becomes infinitely more complex when we look at. No, we don't hit those numbers on an hourly basis. I can guarantee you that. Peak hours definitely between 6 and 9 in the evening. That's when most of us play. When we were there, when we were looking at metrics, that was certainly the peak times. And yeah, then you hit like amazing numbers. But what happens if I am wanting to play a game at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, right? That's going to be a problem if I'm on an African server and I don't have any other players who wants to play. So it's going to take me much longer. Then I'm going to have to manually switch to EU server to get some games. I've thought about this long and hard. I've worked with the team. I've been entrenched in this, and from my point of view, this is definitely the best way to do it. I mean, we think there are a lot of players, but trust me, if you look at any of the other regions, there are hundreds of thousands of players every minute, every hour playing this game. I mean, and I mean, we can't be blamed. I'm not blaming. We're not blaming. It's not a blame game to say there's not enough players here. It's just demographics. There's just more people playing. Obviously, the higher up in Africa we go, it also becomes tricky because more nodes and servers need to be put down to give the same experience to Nigerian players, for example, because they kind of on the cusp of reaching us with a good ping. I can't remember the exact details on that, but there's the sub-Saharan region would kind of route to us, and anything above would go to the EU server, and that really wouldn't change. So we don't. All the Northern African players, we wouldn't get them in any case. So even though there's a lot of players there, they wouldn't route to us unless there's a new node being put down for them that gets classified under Africa. But I doubt that, because that's a business decision in a completely different area, I think. Tando says, for a region like ours, I think they should mix tiers. I mean, we know that some people in Crown 1 are as good as people in Diamond 3. Well, you see, now you also, that's a good point you raise in terms of the player classes. So if we have a majority of new players and we have a handful loosely, if we have a handful of tier 1 players, Diamond and kind of Conqueror players, there's obviously a reason that they don't mix these players, but they would have a hard time also playing, because how many other higher tier players are going to be playing at the same time all the time? It's tricky. If you mix the tiers too much, then you're going to have new players hating the game because they can't enjoy it, right? They're going to be, their asses are going to be handed to them with every game. Walter says your brille is dalk vuil. No, yeah, but I think it goes in and out of focus. I need to actually set the focus. Anyway, doesn't really matter. I'm sure you guys will say something if there's something wrong with the picture. Naeem saying, I mean, a variety of maps will be better for us as well. Well, you see now, things get infinitely more complex. So if you choose a map, if you are specific with your game type and you press start, you are going to have a difficult time matching up with somebody else in this region because, again, the numbers just don't allow it. We don't have millions of players that play daily that allow for instantaneous connections. And trust me when I say this, people, you would quit this game if you were waiting for minute plus every time. I can guarantee you that people would walk away from the game. So that doesn't make sense either. The Nolan says that hoodie looks sick, bro. Yes, well, I have a few for giveaway. So over the next few weeks, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be giving some hoodies away. But again, I'm paying for the shipping. So yeah, that's why I'm also spreading them out a bit. I don't have many. I managed to grab the last official merch from the team before they left. I begged and pleaded. I think they just gave it to me because they said, let's just get rid of him. He's being a nuisance now. It's for you guys. That's why I did it. For you guys. No, Donolan. PC players in South Africa don't have an African server. I love PUBG Mobile PC. In fact, I was a PUBG Mobile PC player before I got onto the mobile version, before I started working for them. So I played mobile before I started working for them, but PC was my first love. I think I clocked like 380 hours on that game. Good times. Great game, but it is insanely difficult for two reasons. The ping is difficult because you're playing against really good PC players. And there, also on PC, you play with everybody. They don't have the strict rating systems that you have with mobile, or not strict, but they don't have all of the same rating system. So it's more difficult. You play with a lot of good players. The chance of getting chicken dinners is a 100th of what you get with PUBG Mobile. PUBG Mobile is... And I challenge anybody to kind of argue with me on this, but PUBG Mobile is it's definitely a more fun game. More instant action. That's why, it's a mobile game, right? So you're going to sit down. You don't want to be sitting down for 45 minutes all the time if you want a quick game. That's why Livik works well. Ashton says, yeah, I see the hoodie. I like it. However, I do have a crib in SA. My query now. Okay, so Ashton, well, we can make a plan there. If you win, of course. So my next query now. I have crowds behind me in Zim that play PUBG and are dying for scrims and tournaments, but can't because most tournaments are SA only. And honestly, I enjoy playing with you guys. Yeah, look, Ashton, for me, it's only the prizes. It really is. And part of the community, we're trying to build a community, so I guess it makes a lot more sense to keep it local. It's just easier for many reasons. But there should be a lot of... there should be some scripts you guys can play in. But please do join us for Battle Room Brawls. But unfortunately, it's just difficult to get prizes to you guys. So it's... And obviously each organizer might have different rules and sponsor stipulations. So these are just things to keep in mind. But... maybe we should do something. Maybe we should do we should find a region and then just say, okay, all of these, our neighboring countries, if we can do something, I don't know if there's something worth doing with prize money or prizes that could work. But I'm open for it. Ashton, maybe drop me a DM if you have a bunch of guys. I don't know, let's just start chatting. Let's see what the idea is. Let's see if we can do something. If you have a bunch of guys, why don't you guys set up your own tournaments? We can help, of course. Maybe challenge each other. But yes, we can definitely do something and set something up. Again, it's all about the numbers. Johannes saying matching with a lot of Mauritian and Somali players. Well, Johannes, you know what was very interesting? A little fact. And again, I can't share the numbers, but because it was my time when I was working with him, and I don't want to entrench in any NDAs, but Mauritius is one of the fastest growing mobile gaming community in Africa or something silly. It is insane. And we picked it up months ago, beginning of the year already, end of last year, I think it was. I don't know what happened, but I think it might have been infrastructure improvements or something, but yeah, they are a force to be reckoned with. And of course they would fall under this region, so they would be routed to us. So that is why you would see them on the server. Logic Gaming says, to be honest, how can we ask for a drop down if we can't even get an African match in the morning? Well, that's exactly the thing. There's not enough players throughout the day. So if we just had an African server, there's no auto switching when that happens. You are going to be playing on that server. And if there isn't enough people playing, you could wait 20, 30 minutes. I've seen this happen in games where there isn't enough players. PC gamers specifically, obviously, but something to check, to keep in mind. If you start getting good, quick games all the time, in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, no, 2 o'clock, that's a bit unreasonable, I guess, but in the morning, mid-morning, in the afternoon, then I think the chances would be much better that we could be getting a server. Cole says, PUBG has a really high learning curve, so new players are going to struggle if we mix players. Exactly. And that is the problem. It's not a problem, but that's the difficulty with the PC version of the game. You play with the best of the best, even if you... I mean, I had 300 odd hours, and I hadn't... I'm going to lie if I say I had a handful of chicken dinners. But I love the game for many other reasons. I don't always... I would love to get more chicken dinners in that game, but this is where PUBG Mobile is fantastic, because it's adapted to the game style. Quick, easy game, or quick, moderately easy games. A lot of fun, and it keeps you. It's a little bit of addictive trickery too, right? To bring you back for more. So Joan Paul is asking he's saying Mav missed this, got in too late. Any news on the African server like we have now, but on other maps? So I would advise to maybe rewind a bit. You're not going to be. I'll give you a quick recap, John. There's just not enough players to. If you have enough players, so if you start a room and you get 100 of your buddies, like we do, so we always, most of the time, get low millisecond games because all of our players are local, right? I've played on most of the maps on low ping. So it's just if you have, because the server, the other games are slightly different. So your TDMs and those things, they won't share details on how that works. It's only, the information we have is only around the kind of the classic rooms, classic game styles. And there, if you have, because it runs kind of the same way, it just loads a different map for you with the same server low ping. I hope that answers your questions, but please do check on YouTube. You'll be able to rewind as well. So if you want to quickly go back, check out the YouTube. I don't think you can do it on Facebook. Walter says, can't we just crowdfund our own server? No. Quick answer, no. They won't. It's not something you can third party and run. Yes, a server is just a machine sitting somewhere that runs all the stuff. But remember, when updates happen, there's quality of service, there is security. So they won't let that out of their sight. If you talk about crowdfunding to get them to do it, also not going to happen. It's running now. The problem, actually, no, I should rephrase myself. The problem isn't crowdfunding the server. The server is there. There is a server. We need more players. But even if you wanted to say to them, just give it to us, we'll pay, it's also not going to happen. That's not how they work. Louis saying, I hope I said that correctly. Why can't we have a European drop-down server in Europe? Why can't we have a European drop-down server in Europe but still have at least good ping for Africans, since we need to have a number of players in Africa to have dropped down? What about, is that possible? Sorry, let me just quickly figure out what you're trying to say here. Well, look, if you're in Northern Africa, you're going to be playing on the European server regardless. If you're Sub-Saharan Africa, you'll be routed like us between this server and the EU server. If you're asking about why we don't have an African drop-down, we kind of chatted about it, but it's just there's not enough players. It'll make the experience horrible. Bradley's asking, how do I play on the South Africa server? Well, the easiest way to play, or the easiest way to get, is make sure you play between 6 and 9, 6 and 10. That's when most South African players play, and that's your most likely chance to get routed to an African server. The other trick, the unofficial trick, and the not endorsed trick, would be to start your game, and if you don't match within 15 seconds, cancel and try again, and do that a few times until you match quickly. That does also work. Juan Paul says, I will come and collect the hoodie myself. Well, sir, let's we need to figure out how you're going to win one. I'm going to have to make it a little bit more difficult because I've literally only got like a bunch. I'll say I've got a bunch of caps and a bunch of hoodies left. Not too many, but I want to make it fun to give away and fun to win. And so maybe, and I think my first thing I'm going to do is I want to set up a death race. So we'll do a death race, and then within that, maybe do a merch giveaway or two. Because then we can also, do something that's different. Oh, Lynn, that's so sweet of you to think of the PUBG community and giving away prizes. Awesome. Well, Lynn, that's what I do, right? Nah, it's just fun. I mean, how can you not love it? PUBG is one of my favorite all-time games, and when I was working within the organization, I could see how amazing the community was, and that's where Battle Room Brawls came from. So the idea was born with the community in mind, 100%. So I'm just kind of carrying through my dream. Villy, how's it, Villy? He's saying thanks PUBG should give out more support to growing streamers. In my eyes, they are the ones bringing in more new players. I know a ton of people who joined the fun just by seeing local streamer live on Facebook. Some streamers could do with like a capture card. Yes. Now, Villy, I hate to break very, 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 very sad news to you. We just started with that when everything came to a halt before the C word hit the world. So one of the things that I did there also, that's what when we did the Battle Room Brawls, we set it up. I set up that initial brawl. We did the Brawl Squad thing where we had Milky Bar, Reaper DV8, Scrippers when he just started also. Well, all of the guys just started with this stuff. We sponsored them. So again, we just turned that sponsorship into something for Battle Room Brawls when they closed down. So we just kind of tweaked how we did it a bit. But part of what I did was certainly wanted to build the streamer community. And you, sir, was certainly on the list. Unfortunately, the company is no more, and we can't give official support. But part of what I want to do as well with everything that I'm doing, and I've got a few other projects in the works as well, is to work with guys like you and see what we can do. Because the problem with streaming, it's not the problem with streaming, but there's a lot of people starting to stream now. And for somebody like a sponsor to give out money or sponsorship, it becomes more difficult if you don't have a very unique angle. Or not a unique angle, but maybe if you have a good audience, you maybe have some unique content. There's a lot of little factors that come into making a sponsorship feasible for a brand more than just playing games, if I can put it like that. But yes, Villy, please DM me. Let's chat a bit. I've been wanting to get in contact with you. I've just been so busy, but there's a lot. It's all about working together. It really is just getting all the streamers who want to do something. If we can come together. So I've got some things in the works already, and I've got some brands that I'm busy serenading, because I worked with a lot of brands when I was a journalist back in the day, and I worked in the gaming industry and stuff. So I'm trying to get something done so that we can, as collective force, work with these brands, and then everybody could potentially, or some people could potentially, benefit from certain sponsorships, especially when it comes to live streaming. But if you are a streamer and you want to take this further, my best advice to you is do unique content, do interesting things. I would say Scrippers is probably the most well-known personality in that regard, because he just went out and did something that was right off the wall. Whether you love or hate him, that's the kind of thing that brands look at and say, this guy's a character, or you don't have to be a character, but there's something that stands out about him. He's something we can work behind. I would do yourself a favor, if you guys are interested in streaming and content and looking at sponsorships and how to get it and what to do, look at your content first, but do yourself a favor, go look on the PC streamer side. There's a bunch of South African streamers that do a great job, and they are also in with some of the brands, but unfortunately PC gets all the love at the moment. So but go look at what they do. Go look at the type of stuff that they put together and how they put their content together. I would say look at people like Super 2-Bit on Facebook, Dangerous Dave. He's a great one to keep an eye on. Grant Hines is also, he's up there, but I would say, he's more of a personality in a sense. Where Super 2-Bit is a channel, a gaming kind of channel. I do a few things there that's interesting. Ashton saying, we don't play for prizes, money, lol. We want the experience. Yeah, let's chat. I mean, we can set up fun games. I mean, let's set up some, I don't know. There's a lot of cool things we can do. If you guys are like keen to just do some fun games, I want to set up some fun game stuff. So we can definitely collab, or, I'll invite you guys. Yes, Deavolt saying easy match finding it's easy to find a match anytime in the beginning of the season. As players go up in tier, that's when things become difficult. When new players struggle to get a game because the numbers start spreading out and making it more difficult for enough players. Yes, exactly. So now imagine how that exacerbates when you have limited players in the African region, and by the end of the season you're going to be waiting a while for a game. You're going to have to be manually switching to the EU servers. Yeah, Benjamin saying you can get low millisecond pings on other maps, just not enough players. Exactly. So when we do a Sanok map or something, we generally get low millisecond pings because all our players are from this region. Jean, thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it, sir. I saw what you guys were doing with Spaza and the... oh dear God, what is that? The Jägermeister logo. You guys know the Jägermeister Oh Dear God logo. Anyway, that is brilliant stuff. Yeah, I look forward to seeing some more. I'm definitely going to be entering that too. Well, Walter, PUBG Mobile Africa doesn't exist as an entity. It fell under Tencent Africa. So Tencent Africa still exists, and some of the team is still around. But I was purely working on PUBG Mobile. Creative and content, that was my main beat, and yeah, unfortunately they're not there, so I'm back on freelance now, and this is 100% just fun side gig, but it's taking up so much time. So I'm in a point where I just have to do more stuff and just see this thing through, because I've got so many awesome so many incredible fans and people that comment on the videos, and I mean, it's really all about that at the end of the day, and any streamer will tell you the same thing. It's about the fans and the community, that's for sure. Ashton's asking, what did Scrippers do? Well, Scrippers is just a personality. He just is, you're either going to love or hate him, and that's what makes him good. It's interesting. You want to see what he's doing next. There's a few other guys out there like that, but you don't have to put on a mask to do this, right? Just find your unique angle. Johannes asks, are there going to be any African tournaments so that the top players can play against the big teams in the world? Well, officially, probably not until we get the servers back, or until we get the PUBG Mobile Africa back in African soil. So when there's an office, then we can probably start seeing stuff like that when we have a drop-down server properly. Johan says he enjoys watching Dangerous Dave. Yeah, I love him, man. What a legend. And he also has a bit of that persona. He plays with the sunglasses. He does his sit-ups in the morning. Well, worth checking out his first streams in the morning when he walks into the room. And, it's really cool. And also, if you want to stream, you have to watch all of these guys. How do they set their things up? How do they talk to the camera? I can tell you, before I did any of these Battle Room Brawls things, even before I joined PUBG, I was watching hundreds of hours a month of everybody, all the big streamers, all the big names. You see, Ashton, there we go. My unique angle will be getting PUBG in Zim. Well, what you should probably be doing, if I'm sure you've got something ready, but just start a community, start a group, start a Discord group, Facebook group, whatever is the best social media platform for you to get your community together. and then start setting up rooms. And kind of feeling out, and you can, whether you don't have to start a YouTube channel. I mean, just start a group that is accessible to everybody that you want to attract. And we can certainly help you with that. So let's chat. Benjamin saying PMCO in MENA region is our only hope right now. Well, yes, indeed. Now, look, it's not the end of the road, of course. Like I said, I'm doing this because I'm hoping that they will come back, and then there will be, mine, including others, a bunch of awesome communities. If you look at all the streamers currently in South Africa, or in this region, I don't follow the African streamers. So if there are any good African streamers or guys with some communities who's been doing it for a week or 3, please do share the details with us. But there's enough people following, and there's going to be more. The more, not everybody has to become a streamer, but participate in the communities, participating in your favorite streamer. If there's somebody that you like, or, not everybody's cup of tea. I know that. Ashton saying, WhatsApp clan group already running. Nice. Yeah, let's chat and DM some more after this or this week. And if there's anything we can do, we can certainly assist. Caught up with some of those comments. Is there any other final questions? I'm itching to play now. But I think that we can do a quick summary and a recap on kind of what we've been talking about. So the African server, for anybody who's been doubting or saying there isn't an African server or whatever, it is. Yeah, I can guarantee you that. It's an Azure server. It is here, but the server software, obviously, the way that the servers are set up with the international HQ head office at Tencent, it's all about the numbers. So it's actually a very simple equation. If you have enough players playing at the same time, you'll get the African server. If you don't, you get EU. And I think the very nature of that system should tell you exactly what you need to know about the number of players in South Africa. If you start a game in the morning and you get routed to the EU server, it just means there isn't enough South African players or Sub-Saharan African players at that time. Which means if you had a dedicated African server, you wouldn't be matching with anybody. Simple as that. Cool, Walter, drop me a DM. Benjamin saying 2A-bet is a Nigerian streamer, stream a lot of scrims and tournaments. Nice. Yeah, look, I know the community up there is healthy. There's an unofficial PUBG Mobile Nigeria group that's huge. I mean, when it was still our mandate, it was definitely part of our plan to kind of expand our marketing efforts. I mean, we always got flack from the other African countries as to why we don't host anything for them, but it was just business. I mean, we didn't call the shots. We were trying to grow the South African region or the South African player group, player numbers, so that we can grow everywhere else. Why did that live video interrupt? That's not good. Testing. That is interesting. I hope I'm not breaking up here. That's interesting. I hope it didn't interrupt. Anyway, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope that clarifies some of it. Tando, let me just quickly check what Tando says. Irrespective of tier, players have rank levels too. So you can't tell me that the algorithm will mix level 15 players with level 50 players, and most of the time new players are mostly matched with bots. I think matching a level 45 player and a level 70 player is that bad, especially in a 4-player squad match. I know this happens, but I think it should happen. I think it should happen more frequently, assuming that the player level is proportionately relevant to playtime. Well, player levels is player level. So if you start a game new, you're never going to be playing with any high tier. Why is it getting paused for you guys too? Is it just because everything is fun on my side. If you're a very high tier player, you're not going to be matched with noobs and beginner players. It's just not going to happen. If you're a new player, you're not going to, because it's going to ruin the experience for you. Go play PC, PUBG Mobile, and come back and tell me how much fun that is. I mean, it's fun, and I'm being sarcastic, of course, but there are issues with that kind of... We don't have an African server, but you get matched with high-tier players all the time. They're all saying the 15-second rule worked well. Yep, it did. All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it right there. We've answered all the questions. If anybody has any other questions, please do just drop a comment or DM me, and we can see if we can get anything else answered if there is any really key questions that we haven't thought of. And of course, I think it goes without saying, the reason why a lot of you guys couldn't get loping servers when the update happened was because the update was busy running on the server and running through players. So if you updated before anybody else, you wouldn't match with any local players, and you'd be routed to the EU server. So hopefully that answers all the questions. Please do share this video if there's anybody else that still wonders, or if there is a comment when somebody asks what about the African server. And hopefully you guys will also have the basic information now, or all the critical information, or at least what is publicly available in the public domain, even from the inside domain, because I've also asked for clarification on some of these points, so my information is direct from the source. Anyway, I'm going to be back shortly with some games. We're just going to have some fun brawls, maybe a chicken dinner. I didn't actually announce anything, but let's see how it goes. I'm just going to have a quick dinner, and then I'll